Hello everybody, Travis here for Tpull's Corner, and it's the end of June, so we're doing one final Evergreen deck for Evergreen Month, and we're doing basically all of them. Let's see, Swamp, Mountain, or Forest. I think I'll go ahead and wait a turn or two. We can bring out Eater Virtue now. I did this last year at the very end because Eater Virtue, when equipped creature dies, you exile the creature. If the equipped creature, or is the card exiled with Eater Virtue had that mechanic, the sword sort of absorbs the mechanic. So we end the month, we covered most of these, just about. Almost each one had its own little deck throughout the month. And now we're just combining all of them. As we wait to see what the bat is going to take. The bat takes a flyer. I don't want to bring out Odric yet if I can, but they've got black, so they probably have removal. Odric's one that I haven't really used that much over time, but he's from Innistrad. Gets blood tokens. Depends on the number of abilities that the creatures that you control have. You don't usually want him first. You usually want him later. Okay. I think now we need a swamp and a forest. I guess we take the forest. And then we can bring down Jorkadeen. And then we can equip the sword. Yeah, and we can attack actually too. I'm willing to trade if they want to double block. They just chump block instead and get the life. I wonder if they have spells to bring their creatures back from the graveyard. This looks more intimidating than a 3/3, doesn't it? 4/4 or 4/2 a trample. We kind of want them to feel that way. When Gwenna comes down, if Gwenna stays around, Gwenna solves all of our problems. And we can draw a card with this, which I like. Oh, another Odric. Excellent. Maybe that's worth double blocking? They block? Why would you do that? I have trample. They don't want to take any damage if they can help it. Do I double block with Gwenna and Odric if they attack? Oh, hello. Well, there goes my sword. Fine. Yeah. Has haste. Let's do it. Oh, that's beautiful. I have 3 attackers, which means Aurelia's going to pop off, and I waited too long to hit the attack button. The enemy left. Let's read Aurelia, the law above, while we're here. Flying, Vigilance, and Haste. Whenever a player attacks with 3 or more creatures, you draw a card. If I attack with 5 or more, does 3 damage to each of your opponents, and you gain 3 life. So it's a card that can be used with in the Commander format, and everybody got the plus up because of Joda the Unifier. So that's a good first round for us. This is what happens when you combine all of the mechanics together. Can't happen anyway. Okay, for those of you who are new, I know I've gotten a couple of new subscribers in the past couple weeks, so welcome to the channel. I'm Travis. I am the only host. And what we did for the month of June, we do this every year, and this is the 4th time I'm doing it, is we pick a mechanic. It could be flying, it could be trample, it could be menace, and we build a deck around it, and we show you, especially if you're a newer player, how the mechanic works, what the strengths and weaknesses of it are, how you can maybe get it represented in other colors if you're using legendary creatures or gold creatures that have more than one color in them, that kind of thing. And then at the very end of the month, I would like to drag out some interesting cards that deal with all of the mechanics. The big one is Eater of Virtue. I have 2 copies. It's legendary. If you equip a creature with it, it only costs 1 to equip, but the equipped creature gets +2 to their power. When it dies, if the creature had flying, then the sword gets flying because the card, the creature that just got killed, gets exiled to the sword. I guess I should call it equipment technically. So any mechanic that we have on a creature that we lose the creature, as long as we have the sword on it, we can equip it on a different creature and get those mechanics on there. So almost everybody in here is basically a legendary creature. And as soon as I realized that I was doing all legendaries, I added in 2 copies of Joda and 3 copies of Gwenna to help, fix my mana. And we added in a Relic of Legends. We could tap any untapped legendary creature we control to add 1 mana of any color. And also, I don't think I've used the Iron Crag yet, so it's a legendary artifact, tap to add a mana. Whenever a legendary creature enters the battlefield under your control, you can have it become a legendary equipment artifact named Everflame, Hero's Legacy. And then it doesn't tap for mana anymore, you just get +3/+3. Which is interesting. I thought if it says it becomes a legendary equipment artifact, you would think it would like transform and have a different picture. It doesn't. It's kind of strange, but I'm trying it out. We have 1 copy of Cyber Cryptomancer, one of the few non-legendary creatures, because it has hexproof and I can flash it in. So if I've got a creature that I desperately want to save, I can give it hexproof for a turn. Also, I can use this as a chump blocker if I put the sword on it, and then give hexproof to any other creature that I equip with the sword later. So it's kind of cool. I got 4 Gold Forged Thopterics, because Ward is not considered a regular mechanic, so to speak. Well, it wasn't. I think that is changing. I think right now maybe it's considered deciduous, but they've been using it often enough. Ironically enough, as kind of an answer for hexproof, because they figured hexproof was too powerful. And I think it's becoming evergreen. But here, as you can see, it just says it has Ward 2. So it's a mechanic. I think it's close enough to being evergreen the way they've been treating it the last couple of years. But anyway, each legendary permanent you control has Ward 2. That includes the artifacts. That includes all of our equipment that we have. Jorkadine, first Gold Warden. 2 to a trample. Whenever it attacks, you get +X/+X, where X is the number of equipped creatures you control. So if we have an Eater of Virtue and an Iron Crag that's equipped, that would just be 2. Really, if we equip Jor with the sword, he becomes 4 greater power, and then we get to draw a card when we attack. 2 Lightning Helixes. Not a whole lot of interaction in this deck, but this does grant me 3 life, so there's a tiny bit of life gain in here, as well as 1 Sacred Fire, again 2 damage and 2 life instead of 3 damage, 3 life, but it has flashback, so I can use it later again if I have 6 mana, and that gives me a total of 4 damage and 4 life with that spell. So those 3 for interaction cards. That's all I have for interaction, really, because the rest is focusing on the creatures. Urborg Scavengers is kind of like an Eater of Virtue, right? When it enters the battlefield or attacks, you get to exile a target card from a graveyard. The Scavengers gets a +1/+1 counter, and then whatever we exile, if they had an Evergreen mechanic on it, we get that mechanic on the Urborg Scavengers. This includes anything that we exile from our opponent's deck. Gwenna, of course, we can add 2 mana in any combination to cast creatures or activate abilities. So we're usually using this to get Joda down, who then gives all legendary creatures +X/+X, which depends on the number of legendary creatures you control. So Joda counts himself as legendary, so he automatically goes from a 5/5 to a 6/6 as soon as you get him on the battlefield if he's alone. And you saw, as soon as he enters the battlefield and we already have 2 or 3 other legendary creatures, the entire army gets oversized really quick. Plus, whenever we cast a legendary spell from our hand, we have this Cascade feature, exile cards from the top of your library until you find any legendary non-land card with a lesser mana value, and then we can just cast the card for free. For Menace representation, we have Gloomstreaker in here. We can return a target permanent from your graveyard to your hand. If the Gloomstreaker dies, you exile it instead. So I'm hoping that I could get the sword on it first, and I'm hoping that the sword takes priority. I want to test this out because I want to give other creatures menace, and I don't really have menace anywhere else represented. So I really want to try and test that out and confirm that we can keep the menace attribute attached to Eater of Virtue and not just lose it because Gloomstrigger is going to be exiled. I think we can arrange the triggers so that this takes effect before the Gloomstrigger part does. We mentioned Odric the Blood Cursed. This is to get us blood tokens equal to the number of abilities that are represented among creatures that we control on the battlefield. Remcareless Stalwart Slayer is 2/3 with flying and haste, also legendary human. If a spell would deal damage to you or another permanent you control, you prevent that damage. If a spell would damage an opponent or permanent an opponent controls, it deals that much damage +1 instead. So this will beef up our lightning helixes and our sacred fire. It'll also prevent like lightning bolts from hitting our creatures. They have to get rid of Remcareless first. I'm going to count on that, which means that Remcareless is going to be the first one to get the sword, so we can give everything else flying in haste. 2 copies of Coyote Soul of Kamigawa. He's got flash and flying. When it enters the battlefield, another target permanent gains indestructible for as long as you control Coyote. If that creature that's indestructible, somehow they manage to kill it anyway, if it's equipped with Eater of Virtue, we don't get it on the sword. It's only the, like you see flying here on the legendary dragon spirit itself, the sword could get flying because the dragon naturally has flying. If we give something indestructible with Coyote and we lose it, we don't get indestructible on the sword because it's not a permanent natural part of the card that's going to be exiled. That temporary indestructible feature would go away. And Flash is not mentioned here on Eater of Virtue, so I think this was, I don't know if they consider Flash to be, it's not really, you notice Haste is on here, which could be good, still be useful when you bring a creature down and equip it with the sword right away, but Flash is something used to bring something from your hand down onto the battlefield. Once it's on the battlefield, Flash doesn't do anything for you anymore. So although it is a mechanic, and although it's an evergreen mechanic, it's not. So it's really just not relevant to the Eater Virtue's abilities. So that's why it's not mentioned here. If you look here, it's also not mentioned here. Although I would argue maybe it should be. But I don't know who to have the argument with. It would be nice to have that debate sometime. But let me know in the comments for Odric the Blood Cursed. We know that Flash is an evergreen mechanic. It's as good as any of the ones here. Haste is included here, and haste is useless after the turn when you bring it down, right? So, you know, if you're talking about, oh, well, Flash doesn't do much. Well, haste doesn't do any good after the turn you bring it down either, but it's still going to count when you bring Odric out later. So why isn't Flash included here? I'm pretty sure Flash was considered evergreen before Innistrad expansion came out. Stoic Sphinx. Flash and flying has hexproof as long as you haven't cast a spell this turn. This is one that's not legendary. I did want a creature that could maybe give me hexproof, but it wouldn't help us with the Eater of Virtue. It would be interesting to test this, but I don't think that if it has hexproof on it and we get the sword on it, I'm not sure how we can get rid of it unless we somehow find some way to sacrifice it. So that would be, it's really hard to test getting rid of a hexproof creature to see if the sword would absorb its ability, because again, Flash and flying are permanently on the card. Hexproof is not. But if we gave it hexproof and we had the sword on it and then we destroyed it, would it retain the memory that the hexproof was there? I don't think it will. I think the hexproof would fade as soon as it died. It would remove from the card, and Eater Virtue would absorb Stoic Sphinx, but the text that would be on the Stoic Sphinx that was absorbed by Eater Virtue would not have hexproof as this bolded evergreen mechanic listed. So I don't think that would work. Drana and Linvala, flying and vigilance. Activated abilities of creatures your opponents control can't be activated, but you, as a vampire angel here, get all the activated abilities of all creatures your opponents control. You can also spend mana as though it were many of any color to activate those abilities. One copy of Sigarda, Font of Blessings. Other permanents have hexproof. You can look at the top of your library. And you can cast angels and human spells from the top of your library. And since we have Joda, a lot of people go with Tribal Human with this particular thing. It turns out a lot of the legendary creatures are human. So Jorkadine's a human rebel. Let's see. Gwenna is... No, she's an elf druid scout. Forgive me. Odric's a vampire soldier. There we are. Rem Careless is a human knight. So there's 2 humans we got in there. Who else? We've got Sigard is an angel. Archon detective. We only have... Never mind. We only have 2 humans in the entire batch. So if we come across Jorkadine or Rem Careless, these gold, red, and white creatures, then we could bring them and summon them off the top of the deck if we had Sigarda out. We have the other version of Sigarda, Champion of Light. Humans you control get +1/+1. So this is often a card that's used in with Joda decks when everybody else is humans. When you attack with the Coven ability, if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, you get to look at the top 5 cards of your library, reveal a human creature card, and put it in your hand. So if we have this version of Sigarda out and we don't have a copy of Rem Careless or Jorkadine, we could maybe find it and then put it out. Okay, Ezram, Agency Chief from MKM Expansion. 5/5 Legendary Archon Detective with flying. When he enters the battlefield, you investigate twice. We can sacrifice an artifact. Maybe we get some blood tokens from Odric Blood Curse someday. And if we do, gains your choice of Vigilance, Lifelink, or Hexproof until end of turn. We can also keep in mind we can sacrifice Goldforged Thopteryx, which is an artifact creature. This could come in handy later because we also have 1 copy of Liesa, Forgotten Archangel. 4/5 Legendary Angel with Flying and Lifelink. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, you return it to the owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. If a creature an opponent controls would die, you exile it instead. So what we can do is, if we have Liesa and Ezram out, we could sacrifice a Thopteryx. That would allow us to get Vigilance, Lifelink, or Hexproof. In the meantime, Liesa would allow the Thopteryx to go right back up into our hand, and then we could cast it again and give everything Ward 2 again. So we have a nice little loop here with those 3. And then, of course, Aurelia of the Law Above. If we happen to cast her and we've already got a couple of creatures out, then we're playing with gas, basically. Flying, Vigilance, and Haste, we can attack with 3 and draw a card. And finally, since I have 1 copy of Traxa now, how can you not include Traxa in a 5-color deck? Has 4 of the Evergreen mechanics: Flying, Vigilance, Death Touch, and Lifelink. Awesomeness! Alright, we've got 1 each of the Streets of New Capenna Tri-lands. We've got 1 each of their sacrifice lands to go get a basic land if we need it. We have got 2 Plaza of Heroes. We can sacrifice this, make a creature a legendary creature, gain hexproof and indestructible until end of the turn. And we have a couple fields of room. So I used Urborg Scavengers for the cover sleeve. That's the deck. This is the end of Evergreen Month. That was a great first battle. We're going to find out if Arena lets us do more. I only did 1 other playtest with this. I didn't change any cards, even though I ran up against Graveyard Hate and they were exiling cards from my graveyard, which is not cool because I have a couple of different cards that really need that. But I did get Liesa down and had chump blockers for days, and they just gave up. Alright, I think we bring down the Iron Crag. We got all of our Monodorks up front. Let's bring down Relic of Legends. They only hit us for 1 point, so maybe we have some time here. I am going to need something else. This is a problem because if this is a rat deck, then we have to worry about the rat that exiles things from our graveyard. Let's see if... Let's bring out Drana and Linvala first. No, we're not going to equip it just yet. Let's also bring out Gwenna. We'll auto-pay. We can afford that now because we can tap Drana and Linvala as a legendary creature. All they're doing is creating rats. We really don't care about that. Let's just get rid of 1 of the rats. That'll give that a +1. And now, what do we need here? I've got black and white and red, so let's do green and blue. We bring down Joda. And now we equip... Oh, I thought... Oh, hello. I thought I said... Did I click wrong? I thought I was going to try and allow that to get a +3/+3 onto Joda. They must not have had any removal handy. And if you include my first playtest, I didn't record that one, but I created this deck as soon as I started up Arena tonight. So I'm counting it, so I'm 3-0. It might not count for the video, but it counts in my internal clock to figure out if Arena's going to make things even up with its algorithm and enforce a loss on me at some point. But it's not mana starving me yet. And her opponent is Funky Dolphin. I like the name. It seems like a strange name to me to think of something like that in Magic the Gathering. What made you choose Funky Dolphin for your name? It's not the usual name. Are they going to burn two? No, they didn't. They just... Why would you do that? Really, why would you do that? Okay, I'm glad that you didn't kill it, because now the sword's going to get flying and lifelink when you do kill it. In the meantime, since you're red, and red is fast and deals a lot of damage, I'm going to appreciate the lifelink very much. We're looking at Gwenna, Joda, and maybe even Atraxa in a couple more turns if the land is generous to us. It is disgusting. And we can't gain life. What a coincidence. What a coincidence. All of a sudden we can't gain life. You know what? I use that as a chump blocker then, because then I'll give it to another creature who can give me life after we chump block the Cindermaw. Okay, so they destroy that. The creature gets exiled here under Eater of Virtue. We have to be careful if we get Liesa out at the same time, because we got to figure out the order of events. Do we want it back in our hand, or do we want Eater of Virtue to absorb it? We're going to have to let this go through. We don't care, because we're going to get Joda down. And we're going to equip this. And it's got flying, right? So we're just going to attack for 7. Do you chump block? No, they don't. I think they're going to die before we do. They're stopping us from gaining life, but unless they can do 19 points or get rid of Joda, they're definitely in trouble. I don't see what that does to us at all. You got to block now. Seriously? Yes, please. Yes, please run into me. That would be awesome. Okay, so we do Rem. We get the Cascade. We get the Iron Crag. I'm going to decline that. I don't have anything that I can absorb with Urborg Scavenger, so I'm just going to bring down a Gold Forged Thopteryx, which is not legendary. Okay, we had to use Gwenna and tap it, so she's not attacking this turn. But Rem has flying and haste, so I can attack with him. They could double block Joda and kill it, so I'm not ready for that. This Iron Crag is interesting. You can only equip it if a legendary creature enters the battlefield. I can't equip it later, so I couldn't decide to add it to Joda later on in the match. A little bit of a limitation with this thing. So most people don't actually equip this. They just use it as a 2-mana mana dork to fix their mana. But I think we're ready to bring down Atraxa next turn. they've got more than just white, or more than just red. They've got white here. That could mean removal if they've got the right card in their hand. Normally, I'm upset at Urbrass Forge, but I don't think I care anymore. Here, we'll block it with that. You got another shock that you can kill the Thopteryx with. Be my guest. Doesn't matter. I mean, the ward will go away. But with this kind of power, I don't care about ward. I wonder if I'll get to select my cards before they scoop. These are the days when I feel sorry. I'm not in ranked right now, but when I put together decks like, okay, they do exactly what I thought. That does get rid of the ward protection from the heroes, but they had to tap out to do all that. Yeah, when I'm in ranked and I build decks like this, and I go up against mono red, and I get the right draw, I just feel so sorry for mono red. We will cast Eater Virtue. No, I did that wrong. We already have the sword. We're going to keep this one that's already attached. It has stuff attached to it. Now we equip the Iron Crag. We'll take... Oh no, we take Audric. That would be awesome. And we take a land, and that's all what we get. Is we only get 2 things from Atraxa because of the nature of our deck. But we use Gwenna to bring down Audric. We get Jor Kadeen right on the field, and Audric gives us 6 blood tokens. And then we swing in. And unless they want the pain to continue, they can block 2 creatures. I don't have trample yet on those. Funky Dolphin's sticking it out. They're trying to figure it out. How do they stay alive? The double blocking doesn't matter. I didn't have trample on Joda. I don't know why they didn't. Why did they double block instead of... Oh, Rem had flying. That's why. They still didn't need to block with both, but I forgot Rem has flying, so they couldn't block him. Here we could get trampled with the Urborg Scavengers by exiling their card. But what I would probably do is... oh, trample and haste. There we go. That's what we get with the Urborg Scavengers if they hang out for a turn. We don't cascade again because this is not legendary. But don't think we need it. Okay, so this is the way Iron Crag works. It just taps. It doesn't show itself attaching like all other regular equipment, like the Eater of Virtue shows itself over here on Gwenna. So it did work last time, right? I was just expecting this to move over onto Atraxa when I said activate, but it doesn't. It just taps. Okay, so it doesn't become... That has equip. You can equip the equipment on it. Instead, this becomes an artifact, not an equipable artifact. No, it does. This is kind of weird. Oh, you can. Okay, after you transform it, then you can equip it. Forgive me. Just bear with me. I've not used Iron Crag before. Yeah, it changes the name there. And then you can equip it on whoever you want. That's not legendary, so that also would not activate the cascade. And this tapped Gwenna automatically. So this may have been a mistake technically. I could have done more damage, but I didn't have black mana. So it tapped Gwen automatically to get the black mana source. And this is where I think I have to start learning the editing, which I'm going to start doing actually. I did have a member comment that said that if I did start to edit some stuff, the videos would become more enjoyable. What else should we take? I don't think it matters at this point. Damage. Final score, 33 to negative 53. And that's win number 4? Wow. Hang on, I gotta turn on the air conditioning. It's summertime as it is, and when I'm on a roll like this, it gets hot in here. Pit of Offerings, that's... I don't know if I had 4 copies of that already or not. I think I do now, if I didn't before. Who needs interaction? Who needs removal spells? Dang. Actually, in my playtesting, the removal spells came in handy. They were potentially life-saving, as a matter of fact. And we got one right there. Alright, so once you transform Ironcrag, then it becomes usable. Okay. Okay, swap a mountain or forest. Probably a mountain. Probably should have just gone ahead and burned that one first. But that's okay. Oh, man. Don't take the Ironcrag. I need the mana source right now. Take the Lightning Helix, I guess? Be afraid of Lightning Helix, right? This gives me life. This gives me 3 points of life. You want this one. Or maybe Sacred Fire. One of these two? This is a creature. You can't take that. You have to take one of these. Don't take Ironcrag. Don't take... They took Sacred Fire. That's like the best thing they could have done. Sweet. Thank you. Thank you very much. Voracious vermin. I think we just used Lightning Helix on that. No? We can't yet. Let's do Rem Careless. No. We will go ahead and attack because I expected them to kill it anyway, right away. I really do. No, are they just going to attack me? Are they going to leave Rem there? Unexpected. Unexpected. That allows me to use the Lightning Helix. And gain 3 life. If they have... There they go. Did they pay life for that? They paid life to get that done. Okay, I need a different source of blue because this is not legendary, so Plaza of Heroes can't help me with that. Discard a couple of cards. I guess we have to get rid of those. What did you get rid of? Invasion of Fiora. Kind of surprised. They're kind of empty now, right? Now we can see that we got land coming. That's kind of cool. So we're going to lose life on those. I think we bring down Audric. And I guess we're blocking because our life is so low. if they bring in the 2 Vengeful Stranglers at the same time, we can have them both go on Sigarda when we kill them. They can't go on Audric because it has hexproof. Would have been nice to have Cybus still. When they attempted to do this, I could have hexproofed it. Another Audric. Okay, so if I attack with Audric, they're willing to trade? I'm kind of surprised. Let's just bring down another Audric then. And then we will gain some life now. And we sacrifice Sigarda. Our opponent has whittled us down. I've got white already. Gwenna could be good. We attack while we can. The rat can't block. If they're going to flood out with land, there's nothing else they can do. We can just run it on into the end zone. Eater Virtue is pretty cool. I don't think they can do 8 points of damage next turn. Hopeless Nightmare. I lose 2 life. They go scrying. Doesn't matter anymore. They can get me down to 4 and that's it. Because you don't have blood tokens. They don't wait for the final hit. We are undefeated. It's a good endstone to the Evergreen Month. Is it because it's a Joda deck? Is it because it's a legendary deck? Is it because I've got a nice representation of a combination of all the different lovely mechanics that Wizard has? The way I designed it, it's the latter. That was the intent anyway. If that's the real reason, I don't know. So I'm going to make a couple of sort of upgrades to my posting. Somebody pointed out that the shortcut to my Patreon no longer works, so I just fixed that. That'll be current in all the regular postings. Let's see, forest, plains, or island. I guess we go get the island so we can put out the Thopteryx. I might want to fix the plains. I think I've got 6 basic plains in here because of the amount of white. But perhaps I could get away with one other kind of tri-land or something. Or maybe just a dual color land that won't tap in the very beginning. That's better than I expected. That's better than removal. Okay. Plains, island, or swamp. That means we go get the swamp. And we get 1 life point back while we can. And we see how many oil counters they can stick on the Fuseling. Hey, look at that. It's an oil deck. I'm so surprised. So we used all of these. We getting our basic lands out. That's what we need. Red. We need some red in the house. There's nothing good to exile with Urborg Scavengers yet, but I don't feel like waiting. Let's just get rid of that. Gets a threat on the board. Maybe a chump blocker, possibly. It depends on how many more of these bloody betrayals they have. Dragon. What do we do against that dragon? We could... This is going to give a counter every single time to this guy, right? Do I get rid of the Fuseling or do I get rid of the dragon? I don't need the lands anymore, so we make it a 4/4. Do you chump block? Because my scavengers are only going to get more powerful too. They're going to take the damage. You know what? Then I think I get rid of the dragon. Okay, so we have flying and lifelink, so we can get a couple of blood tokens with Audric right now. Or we could bring Gwenna down and make it easier to summon everybody. I feel like we start with the blood tokens. We attack with both. We get rid of the dragon. Scavengers gets flying. Can't block with the Fuseling anymore. Makes it harder to kill the scavengers. Makes me want to actually maybe not attack with Thopteryx anymore and use it as a chump blocker. And then exile it with the scavengers. So maybe I don't trade off with Audric if they attack. Maybe I just leave Thopteryx where it is and then I stick it on Urborg Scavengers next turn. I should have thought of that beforehand, actually. Oh, never mind. What? Arena? That's 2 decks already that use Giant Cindermaw that make sure I can't gain life. Is this part of the new algorithm whenever I have lifelink in a deck? I have 4 of these, which is only 1 point of lifelink, and I have 2 lightning helixes. I didn't even include... I could have included a lot more lifelink. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking of a particular card right now that should be in this deck. I might take an Audric out right now. Excuse me. Okay, we're just going to do this. Get rid of the land. Becomes a 6/6. They can't block that. I'm not threatening to gain any life. They're going to take the damage? They're just going to give up. Okay, I had Cody. I could flash in and give this indestructible if they wanted to attack. Okay, this may upset the balance, but I have 3 Audrics, and it's not working out. Let's see, 3/3 reach, Glint Reaver, distribute 3, then you gain life. Oh, hey, that's kind of nice. Okay, equal to of creatures you control. Okay. Bear with me a sec. We're going to do a little... I'm going to make a call here. I'm getting Audric way early. I have 3 copies. I never see this card used. I kind of like it. I like the potential of it. I kind of want to make a Vampire Tribal deck. But 3 copies is actually too much right now. But if we do... color equals what? White, green, blue, and include lifelink. We get Shanna Purifying Blade. I actually have 2 copies now, but we'll just do 1. Beginning of your end step, you may pay X if you do draw X cards. So a 3/3 lifelinker, who's also a legendary human, adds to my human tribal. Instead of a vampire like Audric. I do think I'm overdue to make a vampire deck. I haven't done that in a long time. So anyway, if you want, I haven't done a lot with my Patreon page, so I may do a poll. This may be my next month's poll. I'm interested in what would actually attract you all, just because I don't have a paying customer yet, but I have a couple of different levels of membership there, and a couple of goodies if per each thing that I thought would be a good thing to do. But this is very much a mom and pop operation. It's really just a pop operation because it's just me. So I'm definitely willing to take input as far as what you would like to see, just because I know you're already here. A lot of you have subscribed. If you haven't, go ahead and subscribe. We ask you that. That is good for the channel. Oh, we may have finally met our match. They usually have ways to protect their poison guy. And they usually have ways to combat tactics to take out the smaller blockers. And they're gonna outramp us quickly too. That tends to be common for these decks. So we actually, yep, blue. We have to worry about counter spells. Yep, here we go already. Okay. I can't cast anything. That's the wrong colors for combinations. I actually need a green or a white for Shanna. And I need a black for Scavengers. Or I just need more. Plague Nurse can already beat my Thopteryx. They're not missing land drops at all. Plus they got the ramp. I mean, I'm probably going to die. Oh, they were bluffing. They were bluffing. Okay, island, swamp, or mountain. I got the island in the mountain, so we go for the swamp. Still can't cast anything yet. And the Plague Nurse is going to come in now and start the Toxic. And now they have 2 open mana. And do they have a way to take out this Thopteryx? I think they only had 1 open mana last time. No, they're still bluffing on that. But we're starting to get the Toxic. They're going digging for more stuff to do against us. What do we need to bring down Joda? Let's try Urborg Scavengers first. Maybe we double block the Plague Nurse? They've got 7 mana. They can do just about anything they want now. Yeah, okay. They can do stuff like that now. I wouldn't even run the Rot Priest in anymore. They're just getting me into the habit, so I stopped thinking about it. So when they finally do get a trick, they can use it on me. It's at 5. I need to be able to cast other stuff because I'm running out of runway here. So yeah, so I appreciate the subscribing. I like the fact... Yeah, there goes a Thopteryx, and we're dead in a turn no matter what. Every time I want to stop and talk about something else, the enemy kills me. Yeah, like you need that. I don't have board wipes or anything, so that's it. There is it. They put me up against the poison deck for my 1 defeat, and they made sure that I didn't get the 5 untapped lands that I needed to start with. If I'd gotten this down, I just needed this to be a particular color, or I needed this to be an untapped land and not the Relic of Legends, that kind of thing. It was all just precisely the wrong colors, and they gave me 2 copies of Joda, which is the most expensive card in my deck. What a coincidence. But that's a lot of wins with this deck, and it's more than I thought Arena would let me get away with before they fixed things. We even got a Trax out once. That was pretty cool. So here's the deck, and I don't know if, because Audric is not as impressive as where is she? Shanna the Purifying Blade is. So you notice we didn't lose until I put in a different. I went from a rare card to a mythic rare character. Who knows if that bumped me up in the algorithm that Arena uses to calculate how difficult your deck is. Maybe I've just been shunted into another category, and now I'm in some sort of standard hell queue for all I know. But I'll continue playing with this deck. But I did want to say I appreciate that you're a few of you are liking. I actually appreciate more likes. Actually, I don't get a lot of likes. I usually ask once per video that you like the video. I don't know if I should pester you more for that. Probably not. But I do ask you to like and subscribe. But for those of you who are here, I appreciate that you're spending time, watching me enjoy my hobby, getting deck ideas and stuff like that. This is still just a hobby. The channel's not monetized, but I do have the Patreon page set up. I've never really talked about the Patreon page or advertised it before, but since I made sure that the link is fixed, go ahead and take a look at the membership levels that I have and what you get for them, and give me some feedback on if those are sufficient or if I need to do something else. What would convince you that it would be good to actually be a Patreon member? I am not promising that I'll do it, but I'm open to the feedback, and if I can swing in enough time, I will. And the other thing, somebody mentioned if I can start doing some editing, the videos themselves would be better. So I'm going to start that, probably with starting to get rid of the roping to start with, but I also want your advice on what type of editing effects you want to see. Do you want, like, I used to have somebody who helped me with the editing who did it for me, so I had a fancy intro video, and he would take care of some audio problems that we might have pop up in the videos and stuff like that. I don't know what all I'm going to be able to learn, but I like to learn new things, so I'm going to try and devote some time to doing that. But I definitely want to know what kinds of things do you want to see me start editing that would improve your enjoyment of these videos and make them better for you. So do me a favor, leave me a comment, let me know for both the Patreon and the editing what types of things I should be working towards, just because I'm going to be here. It's my hobby. I'm putting these out. I'm playing Magic almost every day, and I'm constantly making new decks. So why not share them? But if I can make the experience more enjoyable for you, I'm definitely willing to look into that and learn how to do that. So go ahead and give me some hints, give me some clues, and we'll have something new for you next time. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.